we start having the analysis by Kunj. Let us see what happened in the entire budget and what were the most important thing that was highlighted during the budget speech of around 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So significant announcements were made in regards to hikes in the custom duty, which will benefit Make in India. Proposals were there to disinvestment or for two or more PSBs, the public sector banks, and also numerous infrastructure pledges were announced mainly for the poll bound states. The fiscal deficit, what was announced was for the 20 was around 9.5% of the GDP, while 21-22 we expect around 6.8%. What we find the best part in the budget was it was a very constructive budget. There was not much deviations from the past, where instability was one of the prime factor, which was actually well taken by the market as a whole. So personal income tax, that is the direct taxation, as well as the indirect taxation, both were generally kept constant. The fiscal deficit, as I said, the target will generally be reduced to around 4.5% by FY26. But in today's scenario, it is aptly required that the push from the government is there. That's why around 12 lakh crores is anticipated for the coming year. A capital expenditure, I mentioned that it is something which has a good focus on this particular budget, which will give you the main support to the entire economy. On the other hand, if you look into the 10 most important announcements that were there, one is obviously I will say that the increase in the health expenditure. So infrastructure and health, as Kunj discussed in the morning, will be the primary focus of the budget, which came true. The second is the gross expenditure is up. That is the capital expenditure is up. We see that there is a provisions for around 20,000 crore capitalization for the banks. Plus, there are talks about bad banks, which will actually absorb most of this bad loans and which will free some of the capitals for the PSU banks. The disinvestment target, which again was mentioned in the morning call on the budget expectations, where we see around 1.75 lakh crores is anticipated in the FY 21-22. A lot of focus on the textiles and also freeing up, raising the FDI insurance from 49 to 74%. Proposal on the market side, where we are most interested, we see that consolidation of the SEBI Act, Depository Act, and the SCRA Act into one. That is also one of the primary, I think, one of the most important announcement that was made in the budget. So with all this highlights, let me invite Kunj Bansal, who is the head of PMS for Karvi Capital. So welcome, Kunj. All yours. Please go ahead and share your views on the budget. And also, I will ask you what's the opinion on specifically on the banking as well as the infra sector as a whole. Over to
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Sabya, and thank you, everybody. Thanks, Abhijit, for organizing this session. Um, I told him that we'll do on Tuesday and Wednesday. He said, "No, it won't make sense because by then everybody would know everything. Karna hai to same day karna hai." So I was under a lot of pressure, but then thanks for pushing me and my team. I just noticed that now we have close to 120 participants, which is a very good uh, strength, but more importantly, that is what will be the price of petrol from tomorrow. Thanks to all the positive things that Sabya mentioned about finance minister, let me highlight this one of the few negative things that have been there in the budget. Having said that, I also told Abhijit that in that case it will be an informal presentation because the time is too short to prepare a formal presentation and all. But thanks to myself and my team, Rahul and Gurdarshan, they are I think also on the call. We have prepared a presentation which is not as sleek and professional as I would have wanted it to be. But okay, for the purpose of our discussion, that will do well. So I'll just share that screen and then start. Okay. So welcome again, and Sabya, you have summarized well, which has made my job easier, or I don't know if difficult, because now I don't have anything else or anything new to say. But still, I will try and also answer those few specific questions that you have said. So starting with the first, of course, the quick view. And what happens is that our quick view, of course, and it's always a challenge. So as you all know, I keep going on all these business channels and other media, and they always ask me, and that's what I say, that whether we are actually analyzing any event, whether it is a macroeconomic event, whether it is budget, whether it is credit policy, whether it is quarterly results, and then taking a view on the market, or we are looking at the market, that whether it has gone up and down, and then deciding that, okay, so that's, I don't know how it will be tomorrow market, day after tomorrow, in next 15 days, next 1 month, next 3 months. Uh, Hopefully it will be positive. But just a word of caution here, that today market has almost moved up 5%, Sensex more than 2000, Nifty close to 500 points. Should not necessarily be a view to guide our view on the uh, budget. And as I said in the morning call, that more than the budget, what is important is the perception to the budget. Now, obviously, as of today, the perception has got built up better. But as they say, devil lies in detail. Now, today overnight, everybody will get time to read, and then maybe by tomorrow morning you will come, okay, ye bhi ho gaya, this has happened, that happened, and all those things, and that will start coming in. Just as another important thing that happened today, while equity market moved up, interest rates, at least during the intraday, they had moved up marginally 10 basis point. I did not get time to track after that, because the borrowing target that the government has announced is higher than the market expectation. So that also, as an advisor, as a wealth advisor, as people who make our clients invest not only in equity, other asset classes, we have to look at the other asset class movements also. Continuing with the quick view, having said all these things, having put a caution ahead, having talked about petrol price, it's a good budget. There's no doubt about it. The how I view is that it has been prepared for growth, or if I want to put it in other words, it has been prepared from an optimistic angle. You or a government or FM or anybody could have been very cautious, very pessimistic, very negative, that no, we still don't know, can we have a second round of COVID, which are the risks still persisting, can the vaccination fail, can things other like, and could have prepared a very cautious budget, wherein the allocation on future growth, allocation on new schemes, allocation on infrastructure investments projects might have been lesser, and as a result, a very tight knit budget could have been prepared. That government hasn't done. It has gone whole hog, that okay, let's go, let's be positive, we will see what happens. And that's a very good approach that all of us in our individual lives also try to keep that, because if we have to keep looking, keep remaining pessimistic and negative, then we will anyway not be able to grow. So that's an important thing. It ticks all the required boxes. So if we read the finance minister's speech, or if we heard it, every possible word or phrase that we can think of, farmers, women, senior citizen, startup, NHAI, she has included everything, power distribution, city gas distribution. So nothing she has left. So, but the point is how it will shape up going forward in the execution is something to be seen. So I was on a channel, so I was just telling them in the lighter vein, that if at all I have to think of one particular segment which hasn't been talked about, is, let's say, defense forces. There may be some others also, but other than these one or two, she has talked about everything possible. Most important thing in my view, why market seems to have taken a positive view of the budget, is that the deficit numbers that she has shown are really close to reality. So almost 9.5% for this year and 6.8% for next year. In market, a lot of economists were expecting that this year's deficit number will be shown to be closer to 7.5, 7.7, 8, and 8.5, and something like that. Instead, she has gone all out that no, we are naked. We don't have money. We spend so much. The revenues were lesser. The expenditure was high. So the fiscal deficit for this year is 9.5. So that's one of the way market has looked positive, that okay, the numbers are closer to the reality. So these are the deficit numbers. As I said, for the current year, she has projected at 9.5%. For the next year, 6.8%. Fiscal, this is a repeat of revenue deficit. So these are a lot of charts I have put in. I maybe will circulate the presentation. You can go through because these are almost 45 slides. If I go through it, it will take 2 hours, uh, and all of us will get bored. Subsidy again have shown increase over the next year, last year. Expenditure on rural development, they have again increased over the budgeted estimates of last year. On Narega, they have so this year, obviously, in the current year, the Narega expenditure was suddenly increased much beyond what was budgeted last year because of the obviously the pandemic. Now the amount budgeted for next year is lower than the actual expenditure this year, but is still closer to a marginally higher than it was in the last 2 years. Similarly, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the residential scheme of the government, the allocation was suddenly increased this year, but for the next year it's higher than earlier years. So is in case of road. In fact, she made a specific announcement about NHAI expenditure and all that. Health, we had talked about it in our pre-budget discussion, has obviously seen a significantly increased allocation by the government. So now suddenly we are at 1.8% of GDP compared to 1.4 that we used to be. This is of course still lower than the global countries, but then we can't compare given the population number that we have and the resource constraint that we have. GST collection, not much to do with budget, but as we discussed today morning, has been seeing record collections this month, 1.19 lakh crore, which was higher than 1.15 lakh crore last month and has been higher than all the earlier months, month on month as well as year on year. So what can go wrong? That is something that we all as market participants, of course, government will keep monitoring on its end. Execution or implementation, that will be a challenge. There have been a lot of announcements, a lot of ideas, a lot of initiatives taken, some of which we will talk about. Now, those actually need to be followed upon. Divestment target, that is always a challenge. This year, government has put 1.75 lakh crore as collection from the public sector divestment. Now, whether that gets met or not. For revenue collection, government has estimated 11% GDP growth. If that comes lower than that, then the tax collection also accordingly will be lower, and that is something that has to be monitored. Inflation, as I said earlier, because government borrowing target is higher than market expectation, we had yields going up during the day. Not only that, we'll talk about it later, that on some items, I won't say a lot of items, but on a number of items, customs duty has been increased, import duty. That could feed in some inflation because the import of those goods won't suddenly go away. It will reduce if prices have gone up, and those parts in whichever final. So let's say for some of the automobile parts, it has been increased. Now they will be imported at a higher cost, leading to increase in the cost of vehicles, which is already going up because of a steel price hike and so many other things. Similarly, compressors for air conditioners, their import duty has been increased. So the AC prices will go up. So that might result into some of the little bit of inflation increase, and that is something that can go wrong. Too many ideas. And I'll mix that with the next point, repeat of new institutions. So FM has announced Bad Bank, FSM again announced one more infrastructure institution, so many things. Now, it always becomes challenging and difficult to execute all those ideas. So nobody's expecting that all the ideas be implemented, but the number of ideas that get implemented, one should be in a reasonable time frame and should be closer to 70-80% of the announcement. Otherwise, that whole enthusiasm that has got built up tends to die away as time keeps passing. And of course, the borrowing and the interest rates I have talked about is certainly a monitorable. Things can go out of control there. Also, why the budget was perceived negative, I think a lot of expectation management, not necessarily from the government, but out of our own will happened. Media wrote, in fact, I myself said, and I will refer to some of the slides that we had in our expectation and what has come out. So there was an expectation that COVID surcharge will come, government doesn't have money, it will increase taxation. In fact, today morning also, I think Ruchi or Ritu, somebody had asked that question. So in that context, when none of that rates have gone up, at least till now, as I said, devil lies in detail and over the night when we read it, that has suddenly created a positive vibe that none of the tax has been hiked. There's no direct tax hike, no corporate tax hike, no surcharge, no change in capital gains taxation, no change in securities transaction tax, and no wealth and inheritance tax. So that is what has contributed to the positivity that has got built. Negative surprises till now, which have been discussed, there is this whole agri and infra cess. So I think it has been put on 7, 8 items, of which petrol is 2.5 rupees per liter, diesel is 4 rupees per liter. On gold, on one hand, import duty has been brought in, but that agri and infra cess has been put in. And then it's there on, as I said, 7, 8 items, which includes imported urea, imported coal, liquor. For those of us who are fan of liquor here, 100% agri and infra cess has been put in on the liquor imported, not on the India, the IMFL made in India. So that's there. Then, of course, there has been capital gains tax put on ULIP. In a way, it creates now equal field between insurance and mutual funds, but that is something that is there. And there is a tax on interest income, I think about 2.5 lakh on the contribution to the provident fund. So these are some of the changes or negative surprises, we want to call, have been there. Some more might come in, as I said, when we analyze things in detail. Specific sectors which have been beneficiaries of the announcements. So multiple announcement, almost all sectors, but I have lined up here health and pharma. There has been allocation, which was expectation. Clearly infra and housing, which was an expectation. Then of course for startups, again, some benefits in terms of change in NRI status and time period required to set up companies and things like that have been made. For automobile, scrappage policy had already been announced before budget, that has been reiterated. And of course, agriculture. So all these were expected. There are other sectors which have also benefited, but these are the major beneficiaries. Some other announcements, actually Sabya summarized them very well, but just repeat some of them. Some of them may be fresh. Custom duty increase, I've already talked about, has been there. So the idea behind increasing custom duty for the government is that government clearly wants domestic manufacturing to go up. It is not looking at the custom duty increase as much of a revenue resource as it is looking that, okay, manufacture these goods in India, we will have employment, we will have economy doing well, we will have multiplier factors, and cost will be lower. And in fact, we should be able to export from here. So that is a bigger idea behind custom duty increase, not as much of course, it will add to some of the revenue. Bad bank setup. So that was a consistent demand or a thought on idea that has been announced. Let's see what shape it takes up and how much success it builds up. Faceless IT tribunal, one of the most important things. So after the last year's announcement and implementation, that now individuals will have faceless scrutiny, because the whole thing of corruption, bribery, and this and that, and settlements, the government has been really moving towards all these initiatives. Tax assessment time period. So 6 years, up to 6 years, your previous tax assessment could have been opened. Now that has been reduced to 3 years. So that's a very important announcement. Audit requirement for companies has been increased. I don't remember the limit, from 5 crore, I think straight away 10 crore it has been increased. Lot of changes or clarifications on TDS, taxation for FIIs, for InvITs, for withholding tax, and things like that. So that is another reason why, particularly for FIIs also, this is a positive development, that earlier there was sometimes unclarity, sometimes procedural issue, sometimes TDS, which they couldn't claim later, but they had to go through that whole process. Now all those things, in fact, another clarification which has been issued is that the FIIs will be taxed at the double treaty rate. So that clarification also was not there earlier. Continuing with other announcements, privatization, most important thing. So while divestment, every time government talks, the target has also been set up. But this time government has clearly said 2 banks and 1 general insurance companies will be privatized. In fact, this was one of the points in our pre-budget discussion also. So that's a very important thing, that, you know, at least you have started talking of the word which was an anathema, which was a scary word, that unions suddenly tomorrow unions will go on a strike, which may happen now also. But at least government has started making its mind clear that if you push us, we will not implement this year, but at least from the year that we start talking of, it happens in 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year. But you have to start talking about it. Vehicle scrappage policies, national highway allocation, city gas. Again, I think 15 cities or something, or 50 cities or something like that has been announced, that the home consumption gas will be through the pipes and not through the cylinders. In fact, all those who have started using it in Mumbai, we use it in our home. Not only it is convenient, it costs much lesser, because now the subsidy for above a certain income level on cylinder has been removed. Power distribution choice will be given. Today, we are forced to take power from one company only. There will be more than one, maybe two. How practical it is, again, we have to see, but that is something government has announced. So as I said, our expectation versus reality, what did we expect and where are we? So we had said there will be a job creation focus, which has clearly been there. I mean, when we had said, it's not that we said something which was completely out of the way. Everybody in the market expected it. Let's be realistic about it. Not that only I expected it and I was the smartest kid in the town. Infra investment, we expected, everybody expected, obviously has happened. Health expenditure, obviously it has happened. Agri focus, obviously it has happened. COVID surcharge we had expected has not happened. Then we had also said that we are not expecting some of the things what happened there. Reduction in capital gains tax we had said will not happen, hasn't happened. Reduction in direct tax we had said will not happen, hasn't happened. Introduction of wealth tax, inheritance tax we had said will not happen, hasn't happened. Education focus we had said will not be there, but there is one or two announcement in those 6 pillars that FM has announced about some focus on education and allotment. So that has happened. So it has been a no for us. So maybe I'll just cover one or two more slides and open for questions. So that will make it more interactive. As I said, otherwise it will become very boring. I think I've already spoken 20-25 minutes. So give me. So likely outperformers, this also slide I have continued from our earlier. Our largely the stance remains same. In some cases, let's say in IT and telecom, no announcements have been made by the government, specifically in the budget. But given the way overall economy is progressing, overall policies have been there in the past, overall growth that is likely to go up for multiple reasons of pandemic, change of working style, work from home, increased usage of digital, continues to be stay there. Insurance, our outperforming expectation was on a general ongoing basis, but the positive announcement that government has done is increase FDI limit from 49 to 74. So that has added additional push to expectation of outperformance from this sector. Select infra, again there, gas and gas utilities. So again, we were not expecting this kind of 50 cities or 15 cities or whatever, but given the way it's a cleaner fuel, it's a more efficient fuel, we were expecting a clear outperformance on an ongoing normalized basis. Budget has given an addition. Auto is something I have added in the circle because that's a new addition compared to our earlier thing. So this whole scrappage policy thing is something that will clearly result into automobile sales hopefully going up. As we discussed in the morning, that while GST numbers were out, auto sales numbers were not out. Those have also come during the day. So for Maruti, it's a marginal 4% growth, but it's a growth. A lot of doubt was there that after festival, the growth will continue or not. For TVS Motors, I think it's 30% growth. So that's the kind of automobile sales numbers have come in for January, even after the festival season being over. Potential risks. So I talked of what can go wrong, but these are on an ongoing basis. Potential risk, we had talked about it earlier also, still continue. Resurgence of COVID, vaccine failure, oil price rise, FII money withdrawal. We saw when they withdrew last 7-8 days, we saw 7% fall in the market, and inflation. Those risks still continue. High activity events, this we had discussed. So out of these, PSUs has clearly come out. And if you notice, we had written divestment to be thrust, management control. So that privatization word is more or less equal to management control, wherein government has said that, okay, once privatization means management control will be handed over and bulk sale will happen. I think IPOs is something that not much to do with budget, but given the overall facilitation that government has done for FIIs, for InvITs, and for taxation changes and all, we should continue to see that activity remaining high in the current year. And where will our strategy, advice to investors, investment product selection, asset class will depend. All these 4 factors are linked to each other. Demand sustainability should be there. The demand growth which has been there should continue. If that continues, we will have earnings growth coming in. On a separate end, policy tightening, interest rate movement is something that we will have to watch out for. And valuation, at some point of time, market feels at the same level of valuation is good. At some other point of time, when the other macro factors are not supporting, market feels at the same level of valuation is not good. So I think this is where I'll stop. So these are the 6 points which finance minister highlighted, and lot more other we have As I said, Rahul and Gurdarshan have put in a lot of sectoral impacts, and within these 6 things, what are the specific things? These are the sectoral impact, insurance, infra, which we talked about. But I'll stop here, and let's open the floor for interactive session.
Thanks, Kunj. That was a pretty detailed, I will say, discussion, almost like uh, getting into the entire budget and deciphering it. I've got some good and tricky questions. Which are the two public sector banks you expect and the general insurance company coming for privatization?
So IDBI Bank is one clear name which has been coming up because it was handed over to LIC. Then anyway, there was a talk of stake sale and things like that, and that's why I think the stock at one point of time was up 10%. I don't know how it closed. Amongst the others, so what happened is also some time back, 3 banks were merged into one. So either it could be one of those merged entities, or it could be one of those which hasn't got merged till now, and as a result has got left as a small peripheral marginal regional bank. Could be that. So second is anybody's guess.
And insurance?
Insurance, I don't know. If one goes by the listed, we have GIC, and which is the other one? I think National Insurance listed. So one of those. Amongst the unlisted, there are not many that are there.
Okay. You mentioned a lot of sectors that are favorable. No comments on the metal sector.
So, this is very good point you covered. Now, there has been customs duty tinkering, as I mentioned, on a lot of sectors or products or parts or things like that. Now, same has happened in case of metal. Import duty has been increased on iron scrap. Import duty has been increased on copper scrap. And then there are some things where it has been evened out and equated. So in such a short time, I haven't been able to understand whether it is on a overall basis positive for metals or negative for metals.
A quick, I think there is a chart in the question that was also there in my mind. The taxation part where it will be paid with the mutual funds. I think many people will be interested. If you have gone through the fine print, I think it is. If you have the ULIP MF taxation, they will be the ULIP if it is above 2.5 lakhs.
Yeah.
On the taxation part.
No, it says that if you have 2.5 lakhs premium in any one particular year, cumulatively also, beyond which it will be taxed at, it will be treated as a capital asset, the way it is for a mutual fund, and then it will be taxed.
Yeah. So till now I haven't found anything negative or taxation which has been changed for mutual fund per se. Of course, I mean we have to wait at least till tomorrow morning, wherein large part of details would have been analyzed, if not by us, by so many others. So that's one. Two, this whole ULIP capital gains taxation is actually positive for mutual funds, because the one of the selling point for ULIP was there's no capital gains tax. So now that has been equalized. So while as wealth advisor, I'm sure we advise both insurance products as well as mutual fund products. But to that extent, for mutual fund industry, it's a positive thing.
It's a need-based way. I think a lot of questions will be there. You can either put it on the chat, or I feel you should ask it.
Kunsa Surbhiya, just wanted to ask that this FDI on insurance has moved in from 49 to 74. Of course, we are expecting that more funds would be coming in. But local level, do you think there would be any other impact? Because also a lot of times the client also asks, who is the outside party? And if they have more ownership, is it not more likely that they would one day close down and move out? So I'm just talking on the positive, negative, both kind of impacts. What is it that this news will have? And secondly, of course, on the ULIP, what we just spoke, that 2.5 lakhs, but it's not applicable on the debt products, right?
So yes, you are right that whenever a foreign investor limit is increased or you invite foreigners, while on one way it is positive, for a country like India, which is relatively short of capital, it is indeed positive. Because for 1.3 billion population, in fact, now this decade census will be undertaken, which also FF talked about, and she said it will be digitally undertaken, no more paper and pen, leke people won't be coming to our houses. So we will know whether it's 1.3 billion or 1.2 or 1.4. Now with that kind of people, if insurance sector has to increase penetration, which it wants to, you need a lot of money for those insurance companies. Now we are a capital scarce country, and our priority of resources is different. Now with after COVID, our priority has suddenly moved into health infra, which government has rightly allocated. Our priority is still manufacturing because that will create more jobs. Our priority is defense. So insurance investment may not be the priority, and a single business house. So that's why if you notice, none of the private sector business houses are there in insurance. So while we do have Birla as Birla Sun Life, but otherwise ICICI Pru is a big player, SBI Life is a big player, HDFC Life and HDFC Private is a big player. There's Bajaj on the other hand. So that kind of capital that is needed can only come from global markets or from bigger players. So that's a positive. Yes, the negatives are that over the last 10, 15 years, because of the risks having gone up, because of the global business houses or global institutions having their own issues, in some cases they have gone bust. So that has been a problem. The other negative also is that you know very clearly that India insurance has a good future, will grow well, will probably be profitable. Now you know something which is profitable and you are handing over the ownership of 74%, 3/4 of that to the foreigners. You shouldn't. You should make your own money. But if you don't have capital, what do you do? So it's a mix of the two factors. ULIP we have already discussed. I don't know whether it is applicable on debt or not. Also, I have to see that detail.
It mentions clearly equity funds. What I mentioned was the traditional products which are not market linked. They are not impacted, just for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. This is Amit from Chandigarh. Good evening, sir. This is Amit from Chandigarh.
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Like with respect to the GST collection, it has been significantly risen even from the last year base also. So do you see that, what could be the main reason? Is the economy literally growing or all these numbers are sustainable? Second, what could be the impact on the bond yield, right? If let's say the fiscal deficit numbers, we are already there and there will be a fresh buying from the government. So do you see maybe 30, 40 bips kind of a jump in the bond yields in a near term? And third and last would be, I've seen in your slide, there is a tax on EPF interest also. So what need elaboration on that as well?
Yeah. So on GST, obviously the economy is doing well. And that's why we are seeing the collection going up clearly. Now, whether it is sustainable or not, everybody has to wait and watch. Nobody has an answer. In our earlier discussions in morning calls and all, we have discussed that when we were in March, April, May, peak of the pandemic, it was a doomsday scenario. Nobody knew what's going to happen. But from there, if we look at the June, July, August, the kind of month-on-month recovery we had in anything and everything, in consumption of FMCG, in consumer durables, refrigerators, in automobiles, it surprised. Then we all doubted, and rightly so. One should have a caution in mind. We moved into the festival season. So we said now because of festival season, demand is coming up, it will not sustain after that. But now December and January, we have automobile numbers, we have GST numbers, and it has sustained. Now, as I said, GDP number for next year has been estimated at 11%. Now, that is because one, pent-up demand, two, lower base, three, economic recovery. So it should be sustainable. And it is also indicated by all the numbers that we talked in today morning. Power demand is at the peak. Fuel consumption demand is at the peak. UPI transactions are at the peak. Today, after our morning call, PMI numbers, purchasing manufacturing index numbers came in, which is again has come, I think 57 or something, last 5-6 months highest number.
Right.
So to that extent, they look sustainable, but that is something we have to continue to monitor. On the EPF, as I said, that in the fine print, it says that if your interest earning in a particular financial year is more than the 2.5 lakh from your contributions in the provident funds, till now it was tax exempt, but now it will be taxable. So that's the clarification that has come in. As I said, there are multiple reasons. One, government wants to plug in the arbitrages, or put in other words, bring all products to equal level.
Okay.
Two, of course, government needs revenue. So and three, salaried guys, unfortunately, like all of us, are the easy target. Now, this year, if you have not increased our direct tax on salaries, you have put in taxation like this. So EPF contributors are mainly the people who earn salaries.
Right.
I missed your second question. What was that?
The bond yields. How do you see?
Yeah. So bond yields, as I was saying, while intraday they moved up 10-15 basis point, I couldn't monitor after that because I got tied up in preparing the presentation. But yes, they could go up, but it will be marginal. The increased borrowing target that government has set is just marginally higher than the expectation, not too high. And obviously, on one hand, you wanted or expected or at least have seen that there is no tax hike, that government has to raise money from somewhere. So it will come in the market. So to that extent, it will be marginal. As I said, for me, bigger worry on interest rate hike or on the yield hike is from the inflation. If that goes up, then that is something more monitorable. Okay. Not the government borrowing as much, but yes, there was marginal hike today, may go up a little bit, but not something which will make us worrisome that for a sustained basis, will the debt fund returns turn negative? Will the yields go up that much? No.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. If there are no more questions, then we will maybe we'll circulate this presentation. So if you have strength and energy, you can go through. Of course, I'm sure you'll get available a lot of things. Or if there are last 1 or 2 or 3 questions, we can still take that. And
Sir, Nitin this side.
Yeah.
Sir, can you give us your view of impact on the real estate sector? As you know, that government was already emphasizing on affordable housing last year. This year also they have emphasized. So, but do you think that obviously the affordable housing will be overly supplied as a residential part? But at the same time, infrastructure also is, we might expect a big boost in infrastructure also towards the REIT investment, which obviously government is emphasizing on. So as an investor, sir, like what advice to our investors, or probably what is your viewpoint as a real estate sector as a whole, that whether our clients should invest in residential products or probably towards commercial properties? So what is your view on that?
Yeah. So I'll tell a few things. Some of these could be related or from the budget. Some of these could be from outside the budget, number one. Number two, some of these could be related to recent quarterly numbers and earlier. And number three, some of these could be the feedback from real estate industry as well as other players. So one, as expected in this government, in this budget, government has again focused on real estate and increased allocation for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Now, while we'll go for what should be done for real estate investment, if we look at the real estate listed companies, there is no connect between government increased allocation or Prime Minister's Awas Yojana to these companies, because all these companies are not operating in that segment of lower end housing. They operate in the upper end, higher end housing, which even 50 lakh and above is a higher end. That doesn't get into that category of Pradhan Mantri. So while these companies have started to do reasonably well over the last 5-6 months on their own, there is no specific benefit that they will draw out of the budget. But yes, on a separate basis, because of the focus of the government, there has been an increased allocation in the housing. Now, in terms of supplies at the lower end, I don't think we are anywhere close to a situation where there will be an oversupply, because the demand for lower end housing is far too much and the supply is far too less. So that won't happen. In terms of investment opportunities and all, so while the companies have started to report good numbers, let's say in case of Maharashtra, we all know that government reduced stamp duties, then recently government has reduced premium. I don't understand what that premium is, so don't ask me any further questions on that. But apparently that is going to be a good benefit to the real estate. And as a result of all these things, we have clearly seen the residential real estate demand going up. But the feedback from companies is that it is not investor demand. Investor in the real estate residential properties has still not come back. Which is good or which is bad, I don't know. It is good in the sense that it is a genuine buyers who are coming in. So that's a good thing. And whenever the investors come, the speculation starts, prices move up, then genuine buyers go back, demand falls. So that cycle keeps going up and down, which is not as happening. In terms of commercial, yes, there is still not clarity that how this whole work from home trend will catch up. So that is where it is difficult to take a view. But residential has started to clearly pick up, and that which is where if some people still have a comfort of investing in residential real estate, either as direct units or houses or plots or bungalows or flats, or some products. So residential real estate REIT are not available. Embassy and Mindspace are more on commercial and office space REITs. But if any REIT gets available going forward in future, we can recommend them.
I think could a positive effect is it possible be there on the cement or paint, this kind of ancillary kind of things once this real estate booms or the housing for all takes place? What's your
Yes.
feedback on
Yes.
that?
No, that obviously. So they have already been last few months. They have been benefiting from the demand pickup in mainly in residential real estate, little bit in commercial also. And yes, they will. Also, you are right that infra focus, the way the government has put in, they will steel, cement will be clear beneficiaries of that whole focus.
And Kunj, it is really good to see the energy and the passion at 6 p.m. in the evening to discuss this entire presentation, which has been so meticulously put together. So thank you so much to you and your team.
Sure.
Yeah. At a short notice, you just listened to us. Very grateful for that.
No, my pleasure.
Thanks a lot. If you have got any question, you can share it with me. I will share with Kunj and we can jointly answer any other calls that are there. I think it was a lovely presentation. And as Abhijit sir mentioned, a lot of energy, not only by Kunj, but also everyone joining it around 5, 6. So I think it was also a very bold budget from the FM. Still, it is I think a real good budget. It has laid down a good, I will say, stability and infra for India's growth story, and have faith on that growth story. Equity will reign in. Ask people to be in equity allocations, decide upon the risk profile of the particular investors. So thanks a lot, everyone.